Yasu Malakido. Welcome to the Malaka podcast. Isolation. Hello? Hello? Is anybody there? Hello? Hello, 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 hello. All by myself, going nuts inside all the time. Can't go outside because they tell us to stay inside. Why? You know why. Listen, let's just be honest with ourselves. There's only so much time we can actually spend inside. We gotta go outside once in a while, go for a little walk, go to the store, get some milk, wait in the Walmart line for over a half hour. Holy fuck, that is brutal. You know why? You know why. I've done 3 podcasts about it. You know what's going on in the world in early 2020. It's unavoidable. And what happens when you stay inside? You start to go a little nuts. You could be like me and do a podcast and just talking to your phone and not even bother paying for microphones because you got about 3 people listening. Hi, mom and dad, and my stalker. And, you just try to make the best of it. You try to get some hobbies or, there's been so many cleaner houses. But unfortunately, you can't even show it off. I mean, do you ever clean your place and then you just want to show it off after and, say, hey, I clean up, it looks nice, but you can't even do that. Why? Because you can't have people over. And then, the people that are stuck inside, a lot of them are alone. They don't know what to do. They just, start going nuts and start singing to themselves and having conversations with themselves. Hey, how are you? I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Do you mind checking up on the condition of the stove? Why? What's wrong with the stove? Did you leave it on? I don't know. Did you leave it on? I don't know. I forgot. The point is, we're all going to go a little nuts during this whole thing. So I figured I'd talk about, Mr. or Mrs. Isolation and see what we can do with this. Now, I like to go on the good old Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. There's a lot to cover here, so I'm basically just going to cover the 2 major things, the healthcare version and the psychological version. That's all I have time for. Actually, that's not true. I have lots of time, but anyways, in healthcare facilities, isolation represents one of several measures that can be taken to implement infection control, the prevention of contagious diseases from being spread from a patient to another patient, healthcare workers, and visitors, or from outside to a particular patient. Reverse isolation. I just like to stop for a second here. First of all, I want to give props to all the doctors, all the nurses dealing with the whole corona shit. They're the ones on the front line, guys. Give them their props. They got to work 12-hour shifts anyway. God only knows how much more shifts they got to work now. And, if you're a patient, dealing with this shit or just in general, just you have to stay at a hospital. I mean, you're in that room by yourself. Sometimes you're partnered with someone else, but you're always partnered with someone that, is older and talks too much and you just want to be alone. But then when you're alone, you're just going nuts. You just, wonder what else is out there. When am I going to get better? When am I going to get, out of this fucking hellhole? Are we going to get out of this okay? I don't know, Anyways, various forms of isolation exist, in some of which contact procedures are modified, and others in which the patient is kept away from all others in a system devised and periodically revised by the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, also known as the CDC. Various levels of patient isolation comprise application of one or more formally described precaution. Of course, you got to take precautions. I mean, you're by yourself for a long time, and then all of a sudden you got this person coming in, this nurse, this doctor. I mean, God only knows how many patients they saw, and then they can infect you with shit. And, you being isolated all this time, you're fucking paranoid, and you're like, safe for 3 days. Oh, no, I can get infected just like that. Sorry, let me... Fuck. I can't even snap my fingers anymore. I've been isolated too long. You know what it's from? It's from washing my hands, I don't know, every fucking 13 minutes. And I just realized I licked my finger which is a bad move, and I don't know. Did you guys see that one lady there? She turned the page, but she licked her finger, and she gave this whole thing about, don't worry about the diseases and be careful and blah, blah, blah. And she did that. Everyone's like, what the fuck? You just contradicted yourself. Okay, she's definitely going to be isolated for a long time, because nobody's going to want to touch her or believe her. But the point is, you start to go a little nuts, and you wonder if even like the littlest breeze outside, if you open your window, am I going to breathe in some weird shit from the spring, or is a bug going to come in and bite me? And fuck, it'll drive you nuts, man. It'll drive you absolutely nuts. But anyways, isolation is most commonly used when a patient is known to have a contagious, transmissible, from person to person, viral or bacterial illness. Special equipment is used in the management of patients in the various forms of isolation. These most commonly include items of personal protective equipment, gowns, masks, gloves, and engineering controls, positive pressure rooms, negative pressure rooms, laminar airs flow equipment, and various medical and structural barriers. Dedicated isolation wards may be pre-built into hospitals, or isolation units may be temporarily designed in facilities in the midst of an epidemic emergency. Well, I got news for you guys. We're here. Okay, we're still in the middle of this. We're still going to have to isolate ourselves. So all I'm going to say is just keep in mind, you're not trapped in a hospital. If you are, God bless you. I hope everything works out well. Things could be way worse. We got to worry about other things out there, and if we're going to breathe in the next bad thing, or is someone going to sneeze in our face? Everybody loves Raymond style. It's just little things like this. Just, like I said. But when you're inside by yourself, you just got to maintain your composure. You have to make sure that you surround yourself with positive things. And and if you're in a hospital, especially, like, holy shit, I don't know what else to do. I mean, like, you're going to see all these people, like, walk around and just nuts and, making these weird sounds, and people walking around barefoot, and, oh, fuck me. I mean, that just is going to drive you nuts. But at the same time, when you're by yourself seeing this, firsthand, it's not going to help things. But anyways, isolation should not be mistaken as the same as quarantine or biocontainment. Quarantine is a compulsory separation and confinement with restriction of movement of health individuals or groups who have potentially been exposed to an agent to prevent further infections, should infection occur. Biocontainment refers to a laboratory biosafety in microbiology laboratories in which the physical containment BSL-3, BSL-4 of highly pathogenic organisms is accomplished through built-in engineering controls. That's true. When you're isolated by yourself, that's as long as you're healthy, that's better than being quarantined. That means that you are screwed. That means you're sick. You have to stay within a certain area so you don't infect anybody. Okay? I remember one time went to a hospital close to my area, because it was just walkable distance. I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to just go there. Who cares? It's late at night. It's a Monday. It can't be that busy. It was that busy. You know why? Because they knew I was coming. But anyways, I go there and I had a very bad fever and it was just absolutely horrible. Anybody that has ever had a fever, you know what it's like. 1 minute you're boiling hot, the next minute you're ice cold. The next minute you feel like shit, and then your head feels like a big heated blow pop, and you don't know what the fuck to do, and you're just kind of frozen. You're hoping you don't die, but at the same time you're like, okay, well, if I get into heaven, maybe it won't be this bad. But I digress. I go in there, and of course, they find out you're sick. They give you that mask. At the time they were giving away, for free. Not charging $3 to $5 at certain convenience stores. But you go in there and you sit down, and of course you sit down and you wonder, like, who else has sat down here? I'm not saying I'm a germaphobe or nothing, but these are things that you got to think of. I'd rather just be by myself, aka isolated, and that's basically what ended up happening. They figured me out and they're like, okay, well, you're sick. I'm like, well, thanks, doc. And they put me in this like little room that's just outside the waiting room, and it's glass so you can see inside. So it's almost like I'm literally living in a glass house. Now the term glass house is, basically you're in a house made of glass. It's I guess you could do that, but it doesn't, I don't know, it looks weird, but you're trapped in there, and you're just doing your own thing. People can see you, but you can't really breathe. You can breathe, but it's just a pain in the ass. It sucks. You're trapped in there, and you're basically quarantined. And I was there for a good 12 hours, and eventually some person came in afterwards and joined me. Did I talk to this person? No. I didn't know this person. I don't know what was going to happen. So, I said to myself, okay, how much longer am I going to have to be here? They said, we don't know. Which I'm pretty sure if you take nursing school, I think that's the first thing they teach you to tell your patients. Just tell them, listen, you don't know. You don't know anything. That's cool. I get that. I'm not trying to knock nurses or nothing like that. I'm just saying, give me some kind of time estimate. You know what I mean? Like if I go to a restaurant, I order a decent meal. I know it's going to be here within 5, 10, 15 minutes if the chef takes a shit, and comes back. Hopefully he washes his hands, thank God. And, then I'll get it. But hospitals, you have no idea what's going to happen. No idea. Even when you order cable, they tell you to be home between 9 and 5. They give you a window. There's no windows in a glass house here, ladies and gentlemen. You're screwed. So I said to myself, you know what? Fuck this. I'm leaving. So after being at the hospital for 12, 13 hours, I just said, fuck it. I went home. I got my meds later on, and that's it. If I'm going to be quarantined, I got to have cable. I got to have internet. I got to have snacks. I'm not going to go to the vending machine and pay $3.50 for a chocolate bar. It's not going to happen. I'm sorry, guys. So it sucks. It really sucks, and people that are at home right now just isolated to themselves, binge watching Tiger King on Netflix, things could be worse. You could be in the hospital for weeks on end and actually with the disease. And, for everyone that's suffering from this, my heart goes out to you. I hope everything works out well. And just keep in mind, shit could be way worse, Shut the fuck up and stop complaining so much, okay? Isolation is not that bad right now for this situation, okay? If you're suffering from isolation, in general, my suggestion to you is either talk to somebody about it or, If you're a guy, more than likely it's because of a woman. Again, I'm not blaming women. I'm just saying women, with most guys, women bring the best out of us. They bring the worst out of us. And we hurt too, ladies. We hurt too. So if we isolate ourselves from a bad breakup and we're just inside and we're trying to watch The Notebook because you told us you wanted to watch The Notebook with us and we refused it, and yet the irony is after we break up with you, we watch the movie after and we're like, I don't understand what's going on here. Why is he laying in the street just to impress her? Ryan Gosling was way better in the movie Drive. He kicked ass in that, But again, this is our problem. We're trying to, self-quarantine ourselves, our minds, and our minds just start to wander. And, sometimes the answer is usually the first thing that pops in your fucking head. Don't quote me on that, please. I don't want to get sued. But, just think about it. Really think about, why are you being isolated? And is it really that bad? Because people in hospitals, people that are working there, patients, they got it way worse. Okay? So just be careful. And just think to yourselves, yes, it can be way worse. Now, isolation psychology. Isolation is a defense mechanism in psychoanalytic theory, first proposed by Sigmund Freud. Now, if you don't know who Sigmund Freud is, that's a podcast for another time. But this guy, he's a little interesting. He's a little off, a little cool, a little bit of everything. But this guy basically wrote the book on this shit, among other things. But anyways, while related to repression, sorry, I didn't mean to. I just realized I heard a story one time. He was working at his desk, and all of a sudden his assistant just attacked him sexually, physically. It was just crazy. This guy, he had, a lot of problems, but women wasn't one of them. Anyways, the concept distinguishes itself in several ways. It is characterized as a mental process involving the creation of a gap between an unpleasant or threatening cognition and other thoughts and feelings. By minimizing associative connections with other thoughts, the threatening cognition is remembered less often and is less likely to affect self-esteem or the self-concept. Freud illustrated the concept with the example of a person being a train of thought and then pausing for a moment before continuing to a different subject. His theory stated that by inserting an interval, the person was letting it be understood symbolically that he will not allow his thoughts about that impression or activity to come into associative contact with other thoughts. As a defense against harmful thoughts, isolation prevents the self from allowing these cognitions to become recurrent and possibly damaging to the self-concept. So, I think what Sigmund Freud is trying to say through his kick-ass beard is that basically when you isolate yourself, you're trying to block out a lot of shit. Now, because of our current situation right now that's happening in the world, the coronavirus, we're told to stay inside. Not because we have to, but because we're told to. Now, obviously, we should stay inside as much as we can to stop the spread of it. But at the same time, it just forces us to face ourselves. I've always said this, like when you put yourself alone, just in any situation, even if you're outside with a crowd of people, or even when you're by yourself in your own place, in your own happy place, just like Happy Gilmore. You create this world of illusion that makes you happy. But at the same time, you have to face a lot of your fears, a lot of your doubts, a lot of your negativity that you've just buried so much in your system. And eventually, when you're by yourself, you have to face it by yourself. You have to face it dead on. And at the same time, you realize like how much shit you've just been ignoring. Because when you're with people and you're talking about certain things, and unless you're talking about that certain subject that you're trying to deal with, you have no idea that you have a problem. So the problem now with a lot of people is that we're just facing all these problems by ourselves, but at the same time together. So we can't even talk about it with people. I mean, we can. I mean, it's always good to talk about it face to face with someone, because you get to see the reaction of the person's face. And, that's why it's important to, do this video chats online and all that, and, people have finally figured out how to do it. Me, I'm still trying to figure out how to do it. I have a 1080 cam that I bought years ago. I think I've used it maybe twice, but eventually it'll force me to do that, because eventually I'd like to see my friends and family in person, even if it's through a TV or a computer screen. It doesn't matter. We'll still try to figure out how to see each other one way or another. Like I said, it's important to talk to family and friends if you're feeling alone, but sometimes it's good to just take a break from life. Not even just from life, you still got to work and pay rent, I hear you, but at the same time, just take a break from just people you feel maybe are being negative around you, or people that things that are just unnecessary in your life. Like even just before all this, I'll admit to you guys, okay, I like to go to certain places, hang out with certain people, drink a couple, have some cigarettes, just relax, But I made a decision that I gotta separate myself from a couple of these places, A lot of it is just because of the atmosphere, the people. It just sucks, And a lot of times you need that time just to be alone and really think about what you want in life. And that's where isolation can really help you. But you shouldn't do it for a very long time, because then you think, oh, is this it? Like, is this all I have to look forward to? Is just me? There's more things out there to look forward to. There's tons of things. You have shitty friends in life, fuck them. Get rid of them, get new friends. It's harder when you grow up, I hear you. But you know what? Sometimes it's better to be alone and be with someone that's negative. Whether it be in a relationship, friendship, family. It sucks more when it's family. When you isolate yourself from family, it really sucks. Because you think, okay, this is blood, this is who I should always depend on. But yeah, surprise, surprise, people are going to let you down. And a lot of people will be your family members. It sucks to say that. It really does, honestly, But there's times where you're going to think to yourself, and you know what, I haven't talked to this relative in a while. Let me reach out to this relative and see how they're doing. Maybe they feel the same way I do. We're all related. We all got the same blood. Our feelings must come from some kind of gene in the family, right? So it's important just to be alone and figure things out for yourself. But at the same time, just don't do it for a very long time, or else, I'll just be honest with you, you will go nuts. So that's the best advice I can give you. That, and watch movies. Now, I wanted to talk about this for a bit because there are some things that you do have to do to entertain yourselves. One of them is movies. Anybody that knows me, I love movies. So there's a couple of movies here that they say you should watch that will either remind you of isolation, will help you with isolation, will remind you that isolation is the worst. I don't know. If we're all bored during this time anyway, fuck it. Just go for it. So it says here, according to Time Magazine, 10 movies here. Wild, which came out in 2014. I've never heard of it. It has Reese Witherspoon in it. I mean, personally, I would recommend Cruel Intentions. I always enjoyed that movie. You know, I think it was ripped off a book or another movie or something like that. You know, it was a good movie. I liked it. Home Alone. Home Alone, of course. You know, everybody watches this movie in at Christmas time. You know, it's a Christmas classic. We all know that. Home Alone 2, it's not as good as Home Alone 1. It's still good. Home Alone 3, I can't believe it got to that point. They actually made a Home Alone 4, which, I mean, if you see the movie poster, it looks really disturbing. It's just one of those things you have to see for yourself. But yeah, Home Alone, you are alone. He is alone. He wished it. A lot of people think Kevin McAllister at this point is a sociopath. You know, it's possible. His dad could be in the mafia. I don't know how he afforded all this shit, but it's possible. But yeah, he's alone. You know, he wished for this. How old was he at the time? 8 years old or something? You know, a lot of 8-year-olds, they don't know what the fuck they want in their lives. You know, maybe they do now because they, you know the internet and all that shit. You know, back then I didn't know what the fuck to do when I was 8 years old. I could barely wipe my ass. Don't get me wrong, I still could. I just, you know, I didn't discover baby wipes yet. The point is, you know, you find things to do when you're in this huge mansion of a house. You learn to toboggan off the stairs. You know, shoot things with a BB gun. You know, order plain cheese pizza. You know, but yeah, you do what you got to do. Me personally, when I was home alone, I would do this thing called house golf. Now, basically, what you do is now the older houses, like all the way at the basement, you know, they obviously have a drain. I mean, most of them do. You know, some of them they're visible, some of them they're not. You know, so you take the thing off, you use that as the hole. So you start all the way at the top floor. So average house has got like 2 stories. So you start all the way down and you just shoot the ball down. You know, don't worry about it. Your parents paid for the house, so you know they're going to pay for damages. The point is just to see how many shots you can do to get that ball all the way down to the basement into the hole. And that's what Isolation did to me. Another movie is called Wall-E. WALL-E. Now, I'll be honest with you guys, I watched this movie a long time ago. I don't remember much about it. I know it's a Disney movie. It's something to do with a robot being alone or something. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's an isolation movie meant more for the kids. So, yeah, you know. Another movie, The Holiday. Is this movie really about isolation? I remember like Jack Black being in this and something about a boob graze. I don't know. That's all right. It's about isolation, really? Okay. All right. Next movie, Her, is came out in 2013. Stars the awesome Joaquin Phoenix. Again, is this movie about isolation, really? I mean, like he's lonely, and then at one point he, gets a computer that talks to him, and he goes out with this computer. I still don't understand the ending of this movie. I mean, I just assume like it's one of those things where it's like when you turn your computer and it says like, oh, it's upgrading. So then the last version just disappears, I guess. So is that what happened at the end? I don't know. Scarlett Johansson just went to keep doing the Avenger movies, and yeah, I don't know. I don't know, but it's a good movie. I would check it out anyway. So, Castaway. Okay, there you go. Okay, so isolation at its best. Okay, so it's about a dude who works for FedEx. And yeah, he ends up in a plane crash, ends up on a deserted island by himself. I don't know, it doesn't sound that bad to me. I don't know, I'm from Canada. I don't know, for some reason it's the end of April and it's still fucking freezing here. I don't know. I don't know, I'll live like Marlon Brando any day. But yeah, so he's by himself. He's got some packages. He finds a pair of skates. He can use those for blades, I guess. He finally ends up making a fire. He's so alone that he becomes friends with the volleyball he found. He even paints a face on it. He names it Wilson. Um, Big fan of tennis balls, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, you know, what he did with that volleyball at nighttime is his thing. But the point is, it teaches you, yeah, when you're alone on this island for whatever years, you gotta just make the best of it. So yeah, it's a good movie. It's one of those movies where I saw it for the first time, I didn't like it, then I appreciated it more the second time. So yeah, there you go. Gravity. I'm not gonna lie. I don't like this movie at all. I don't see what the big deal was. Man, it's one of those movies that you guys see on the big screen, and I didn't like it, man. Whatever. 127 hours. All right, this is based on a true story about this dude who went hiking and he got trapped in the rocks there, and yeah, he couldn't move. Yeah, and I mean, spoiler alert, it got to a point where, yeah, he had to cut off his own arm just to get out of the situation. Would you do that? Would you, I mean, think about it. Would you actually do that? Would you, like, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it, especially if it was, my right arm for obvious reasons. I would just take a chance. No, fuck this. I would just, hope, I don't know, like another human being would come by, or maybe a really smart fox or something. I just would help me out. No, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it. But again, it teaches you to, deal with the limits outside and all the rain and bad weather and just the isolation. It got to a point where, yeah, he just said, fuck it, I'm gonna do it. And yeah, good movie though. But speaking of Ryan Gosling again, Lars and the Real Girl. Okay, so I don't know if this is based on a true story. If it is, but it's about this dude who has a bad breakup, and he decides to order one of those, plastic fake dolls, whatever. And yeah, he just, pretends that this is a real person, and the whole town goes along with it for some reason. I don't know. And again, spoiler alert, the woman ends up dying for some reason. Maybe she choked on her own plastic throat. I don't know. And, they have a funeral for her and everything. And, everybody handles isolation different, And like I said before, you got a bad breakup and you don't want to be alone. Like, and in this case, this guy wanted, just something, Maybe on some psychological level, he wanted a woman that he knew would not break up with him. But then, how do you explain the doll dying? I don't know. Maybe that was his time to move on. I don't know. Someone should have told him he's Ryan Gosling and he would have been just fine. I mean, he's married to Eva Mendes. If you feel alone being married to her, then, you got problems. But the point is, everybody handles isolation different. So, good movie. Check it out. Another Earth. Oh, God. What a title for all the shit we're going through now, eh? I mean, even after all this, I don't know, I think people are going to be afraid to shake hands or what. Listen, I've been one of these people, I think I said this before in a past podcast, I think we're past shaking hands in today's society. Let's just, let's do a fake Air 5 worst case and that's it. So, but yeah, I've never seen this movie, so I don't know what to tell you. Into the Wild. I saw this movie, very good movie. Just about a guy, just wanted to travel and deal with all different kinds of elements, and cool little movie. I liked it. And honorable mention I like to mention is this one movie called All Is Lost. Now this movie is in my opinion, very underrated. Stars Robert Redford, and it's a very simple movie. It's just him on a boat, and just all of a sudden a lot of shit goes wrong. I don't want to give a lot away, but let's just say his character doesn't say a lot, but has to deal with a lot. So I definitely recommend this movie. Another movie, obviously, a classic Alfred Hitchcock movie, Rear Window. And, never seen this movie even before all this shit happened. Shame on you. It's an excellent movie. And, like I said, this guy is just by himself in a room. He's got his leg broken. And, back then they didn't have the internet. And, he had his binoculars, And back then it was okay to be a pervert, look out a window with him. And, just see how everyone is living. And he thinks this one guy across the road there, whatever, is killing people. Is he right? Is he wrong? I don't know. Go see the movie and find out for yourself. But, it was good. Panic Room. I remember seeing this movie in theaters. It was okay. I mean, it was a good movie. It's just, you expected more, but then you think, she's like basically, there's a home invasion. She creates this whole panic room for herself. Nobody can get in, and all these dudes are trying to figure out how to get in because they need some special papers from her or some money or some shit. I don't know. And it was a decent little movie. I liked it. I always forget Kristen Stewart was in this. I don't know. Look, I'm not gonna lie to you. At the time, I couldn't tell if it was a boy or a girl. And then years later, she was a vampire. So whatever, it's cool. Buried, very good movie. Ryan Reynolds, before he was Deadpool, he was trapped in a coffin. Basically, this guy wakes up in a coffin, just overseas, doing deliveries wherever, and. Yeah, he's got a lighter with him. He's got a cell phone. He's got to deal with some shit, underground there. He's trying to figure out where the fuck he is. Does he get out? Does he die? Again, I'm not gonna tell you. Just go see the movie, okay? It's a good little movie. You got Ryan, doing the one zingers, whatever. It's good. The Shining, ladies and gentlemen, this is probably one of the best movies of all time. Basically, one of the best thriller horror movies, whatever the fuck you want to call it. If you want to talk about pure isolation and what happens when Jack Nicholson is alone in a house with Shelley Duvall and a kid who clearly is gonna, do the Tour de France one day on his bike. This is it. Slowly he, goes a little crazy. And I can't blame him, I really can't. I mean, you're trapped in this huge mansion, they just tell you do a little caretaking, I don't know how much caretaking you can do when there's 20 feet of snow outside, but you start to go a little nuts, and they couldn't have picked a better guy than Jack Nicholson. I mean, he's basically launched his career. Before this, he was doing a whole bunch of little movies and being a scientist, whatever. And but this movie launched him to the next level for sure. Done by Mr. Stanley Kubrick. Who that guy's definitely spent some time. By himself trying to figure out some shit. He kicks ass. The movie kicks ass. The staff kicks ass. And whoever built the sets, I mean, they kick ass too. I mean, just everything about this movie kicks ass. And it really teaches you what worst case scenario can happen when you're extremely isolated. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. No TV and no beer make Homer something something. Go crazy? Don't mind if I do. That's a good show to binge watch. All the Simpsons episodes. At least until, season 8 or 9, You never realize that, when you're isolated and you realize to yourself that The Simpsons were, or it it was a really good show at one point, and then it just got bad. Yeah, the episode where Mr. Skinner, they find out he's not the real Mr. Skinner, and then it kind of makes you wonder, well, they can do this with any character, so why would they do that now? And like, this is the type of stupid shit you wonder about when you're alone and isolated because you're, just slowly going nuts. But the point is, just find a good show to watch, and just, try not to become a dull boy. Try to become a music boy by listening to some upbeat music, songs that are about isolation, you know. You know what? I gotta be honest with you. I always think that's the stupidest fucking thing to do. I mean, if you're feeling down in the dumps, do you really want to listen to a song about some guy or girl complaining about being lonely? And it's just, I don't know. Isn't that gonna make you feel worse? Although there was that one song. What's it called? Lonely. I'm Mr. Lonely. Nobody. I always remember that one scene in The Fresh Prince where like Carlton was playing that song and he was slow dancing with Tyra Banks, and then he did feel alone, but then he didn't feel alone because he was dancing with a Victoria's Secret model, and then Will enters the scene holding a TV that people tried to steal from him. And then Tyra Banks recognizes him, and then they're happy together, they're hugging, and then, Carlton's like, no, no, no. And then, all of a sudden he's alone again. Again, guys, I don't know where I'm going with this. The isolation is, it's fucking killing me too. I'm just going to end it with this. If you feel lonely, just talk to somebody. Text somebody, call somebody, video chat somebody, do what you got to do. Just, let's just keep this going, that's all. I mean, this can't last forever. Can it? I mean, maybe, well, no, it can't. No, I hope it doesn't. But yeah, me personally, I'm an only child. I wish I could tell you a great story about feeling alone or, I really can't. I don't know. I love my privacy. It's Red Fox, the great comedian. God rest his soul. He once said, "I'm so good alone." I'm sorry. Let me do it in the voice here. I'm so good alone. Leave me alone and watch. And it's cool. Like unless you're an only child, you don't get that. Or maybe you're just used to being alone or whatever, so me, I like the isolation. I really do. I mean, sometimes, yeah, I miss going out to a restaurant or, having some drinks with some friends or, what's it called? Having sex. Yeah, absolutely. But, we got to do what we got to do in this time, So if you feel lonely, just, do what you got to do to communicate with the outside world, But maybe it's good we're going through this. Maybe it's giving us time just to think about what is really important in life, Maybe we shouldn't go out so much and drink our asses off. Maybe we shouldn't be spending stupid amounts of money on toilet paper. Or maybe, we should just be alone sometimes, even once in a while, even after all this bullshit is over. And just think back and think about our lives and what's really important, what really makes us happy. It gives us time to think about ourselves, the future, and what we really want from ourselves. Maybe that's the point of isolation.